dope boys with them now. The game so cold, but I'm so hot. Same old shit, still on the block. Same young nigga came up in the trap. I'm dope boy, fresh with dope boy not. Dope boy, fresh with dope boy not. Dope boy, fresh with dope boy not. Same young nigga came up in the trap. I'm dope boy, fresh with dope boy not. The game so cold, but I'm so hot. Same old shit, still on the block. Same young nigga came up in the trap. I'm dope boy, fresh with dope boy not. Dope boy, fresh with dope boy not. Dope boy, fresh with dope boy not. Same young nigga came up in the trap. I'm dope boy, fresh with dope boy not. I'm dope boy, fresh with dope boy not. 1,008 gram, headed straight to the block. Pirates, this water water till it's hot. Mr. Double up, turn a little to a lot. Right hand on the cell phone, taking order. Left hand 360, motor to a lot. Blue hollow tips, got switches on the dot. State game, true sippers can't be stopped. Laughing at you haters while I'm thumbing through the paper. Says long at the bottom, won't you meet me at the top? The nigga ain't shit, yeah, I get that a lot. Won't be deterred and I won't be stopped. Shaq Diesel number one, I post up on the block. 24/7 cause the hustle don't stop. 31 flavor, take an order like a waiter. I be selling more gas than a local truck stop. 1,200 strong for a pound to the top. Got me shining, I'm a star. Ask about me, I am legend. They gon' tell you who we are. Fuck these niggas, fuck these bitches. Get money, all I know. No love for these bitches. Never saving these hoes. The game so cold, but I'm so hot. Same old shit, still on the block. Same young nigga came up in the trap. I'm dope boy, fresh with dope boy not. Dope boy, fresh with dope boy not. Dope boy, fresh with dope boy not. Same young nigga came up in the trap. I'm dope boy, fresh with dope boy not. The game so cold, but I'm so hot. Same old shit, still on the block. Same young nigga came up in the trap. I'm dope boy, fresh with dope boy not. Dope boy, fresh with dope boy not. Dope boy, fresh with dope boy not. Same young nigga came up in the trap. I'm dope boy, fresh with dope boy not.
When I'm thinking about the past, yeah, gon' get some nice gang, we at the spot. If we ever was short, then it's back to the block, you probably get shot. Every day the sudden change, we getting money, that's one thing that's never gon' stop. Real dope boys do what it takes, playing high stakes, living to die. Do your time, keep it quiet, no matter who you are, don't get what you got. Stack it up, that's the bond to stay fresh. Oh, they think that you're not. Take a roll with a hoe, they gon' let you go. Somebody's gonna say you ain't hot. Just invest in yourself, don't worry about nobody else. There ain't no handout. If you say the same, put it on the chain. Let them see you ain't tied down. Got a couple rings, did a lot of things. I ain't really gon' talk about it. Give me a trade, get you go. She gon' show up and show out. So don't ask me what a dope at, cause you already around.
The game so cold, but I'm so hot. Same old shit, still on the block. Same young nigga came up in the trap. I'm dope boy, fresh with dope boy not. Dope boy, fresh with dope boy not. Dope boy, fresh with dope boy not. Same young nigga came up in the trap. I'm dope boy, fresh with dope boy not. The game so cold, but I'm so hot. Same old shit, still on the block. Same young nigga came up in the trap. I'm dope boy, fresh with dope boy not. Dope boy, fresh with dope boy not. Dope boy, fresh with dope boy not. Same young nigga came up in the trap. I'm dope boy, fresh with dope boy not.
Good morning, people. We're going to try this again. You know, yesterday, White Jesus tried to shut me down. He wouldn't let me talk and kept shutting down my stream yards because he didn't want to get this word out. But we're going to try this again. Make sure I got this shit speed up. I know y'all was talking about them. Y'all said they look gay. I actually do think Forrest is gay, though. I think that the one with the curly hair, pale-faced white boy that look like a character off Doug, I think he gay. I don't know about this other big sweet-looking nigga. I mean, he looks sweet, but it doesn't, I guess it doesn't matter. But yeah, I have to concur with you guys when y'all was talking about they look fruity. They do. All right, let's get this underway. This one is titled, God's Plan is Good Even When It Involves Human Atrocities. This nigga named Forrest Valky and Jovan Bradley. Jovan is definitely, Jovan got a white mama. He definitely got a white mama. Good morning, everybody.
What a place to call from. Who says atheists misrepresent the nature of God, heaven, and hell. Chris, let's talk about it. You're on the line with Forrest and Jovan. How you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. I think you got that location off a little bit. It's Idaho.
I don't know how I could have possibly known that. It just,
I know.
It says ID. I don't know what else it could possibly have meant. All right, well, wherever. Right. If you're calling in from a dirigible or a potato farm, whichever one works for you, Tell me,
I can't tell if
what
this
God,
is a bit. I genuinely can't tell if this is a bit that Forrest is doing.
Chris, let's start by just trying to figure out what God do you believe in that you're calling about?
I believe in Jesus Christ, the Christian God.
Okay, cool. And do you have a particular denomination that you were affiliated with that you would like to speak to, or like is there a label for your view of Christianity? Because there are over 40,000 flavors of Christianity. So, like, what do you have a particular one that you like, or just general?
Yeah. So I associate with non-denominational. I think there's a lot of. Hold on one second here.
Are you okay?
Sorry about the background stuff. Yeah, it's all good.
God,
Hold on
stop
one
this
second.
Caller, are you driving?
I'm not driving.
I'm not
actually,
driving. I'm just
off
in the
on
car
side here. Hold on
moving
one second.
around.
Very good. We can't have
I
you.
don't think-
We can't have you driving a motor vehicle while on the phone with us. It's not safe, and it's a bad issue for us. So,
Yes. So I don't think the denomination really matters, because I think interpretations around all the little nuances around Christianity don't matter. I think what matters is what we all agree upon, and that's the death, the life, death of Jesus Christ and the resurrection. So we all agree
I
on
definitely
that
don't
fact.
believe in that.
And it,
yeah.
well, and that is,
but like,
that
I
is
get
and, go ahead. Like, I'm not here to
I
preach.
understand.
I'm
So
just saying. Yeah.
right. That's the main
Right.
vibe of Christianity. Is there, before we get into it, I want to address just a couple things with you really quickly. Is there anything you can do about the noise? Because it sounds like you are standing in the middle of a freeway.
I'm working on that right now. Give me 1 second here.
Okay.
I'm sorry about the noise, guys. It's ending right now. So, okay. So basically, yeah, if you want to go ahead and touch on that, were you finishing your thought, Forrest?
No, it's okay. I think that's fine. We can leave that there for the time being, because I want to talk about your actual point. So, when you say atheists misrepresent the nature of God, heaven, and hell, are you speaking to any particular atheists? Like, do you have like do you want to flesh that point out so I can understand where you're coming from? Because there's a chance you're talking about the way that specifically Jovan and I talk about it, or the way somebody else talks about it. Just what do you mean?
Well, I think it's the general attitude toward Christianity. So I think
true.
what I see is I see a pattern of, certain thinking and certain ways that, Christianity is skewed. And there's this, I don't think that it's being represented in the way that it actually is in reality.
Are you talking about the way that Christians interpret it, or the way it's written down in their holy text?
Yeah, cause I was just about to say, the Bible simply says God has a chosen people. It didn't tell you why he had a chosen people or none of that. But when you have conversations with people, they will give you reasonings as to why God had a chosen people, when there's no way they can know this because it doesn't say. And if it doesn't say that in the Bible and you have to add your own shit, you are in fact doing what God said don't do. Don't change his word. The interpretations got everybody fucked up. It's crazy. Everybody believe in this motherfucker, but everybody got a different understanding of every verse. He didn't make the shit clear for everybody. It's just ridiculous. But nah, seriously, if it says that, that's what you have to take it at face value. You can't come in with your own brain and say, well, I know it said that, but this what it meant. Well, he had a chosen people because he was trying to, fuck all of that. It don't say that. It just said the nigga had a chosen people. There was other nations and lands on this goddamn earth, and he chose one. Still got one chosen people. But then to tell you, all of you are my children. I love everyone the same. But kill all them over there. They're gonna be your footstool because you my chosen ones. He ain't mean it for like that, for favoritism. It did the chosen people because he was trying to prove a point. Yeah, hogwash. You can't prove that shit. Who told you that? Morning, Anya.
Typically what I see is Christians don't actually abide by their actual religious text. They just sort of make up how they believe Christianity should be.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think what he was saying is like, he was trying to get an idea of like the atheists, how like overall, like certain atheists that have a different, bias against Christians, and they're kind of like have a certain attitude for them. But I'm just saying, like, overall, it's the general attitude. Like if, for instance, the situation with hell.
I can't speak for everybody, but most atheist disposition is leave us the fuck alone. We ain't gonna bother y'all. Don't bother us. We are in the technology age now where this is a conversation that you can get paid off of it. So that's why most atheists are talking about it now because they get money off of it and they argue with the people. I don't have the patience for that shit. I get like most of these motherfuckers don't have a patience for it either because they be getting angry and telling people to shut up and all that. That's why I personally wouldn't deal with it. But for the most part, we be in our own bubble. If y'all don't talk to us about religion, we ain't gonna talk to y'all about how we don't believe in it and all of this shit. We stay in our own little bubble.
It's like your God is going to send me there and torture me forever. And it's like, I feel like that is an example of a misrepresentation of what's actually.
Do you mean
Jesus says that's going to happen?
When you say misrepresentation, it sounds like what you actually mean is just not being framed in an overwhelmingly positive light. Because like, if you say, if a Christian says, I don't know what you believe specifically, so there's lots of different kinds of Christianity, but like when a Christian tells me, you know, you don't believe in God, so you are going to go to hell when you die and be tortured forever. And they frame that as this justice, this divine morality, and they see that as a very positive thing. And then when I say the same thing back to them and say, this fucking asshole is going to hurt me just because I don't like what he says and I don't think he's real, that's what a child would do. I'm saying the exact same thing they're saying it. I'm just adding the way that I'm seeing the same facts. And so it sounds like you're taking issue not with us misrepresenting Christianity. We're saying the same things that the Bible says and the same things that most Christians believe in our country, at least. But we're just not saying them positively. We're speaking to them truthfully from the angle that we're at, from a more objective and, yes, a little bit antagonistic stance. So is that really what your issue is? Or do you think that we're honestly missing something about Christianity?
I want to point out too, before you answer, Chris, real quick. I want to just point out.
Yeah, go ahead.
Before we get too far away from it, you said that like, you know, well, hell isn't this physical place that you're going to go, but like, yes, it is. The Bible Jesus literally describes it in the Bible as a physical place that you get sent. So I just want to point out that when you say that like atheists are misrepresenting, it doesn't really seem to be misrepresenting if we're just saying this is what the text tells you.
Well, I know, but it's like the way that he just, of course, had referred to a Christian talking to him and saying, kind of like an attitude like, oh, if you don't believe this, or, you're going to go to hell, it's like they're holding a gun to your head. You're either going to choose
your religion does hold a gun to people's head. Yes. That's what the religion does.
That's what I'm talking about. That's the misrepresentation of what I'm talking about.
How is that misrepresentation if that is the text?
God is not holding a gun to your head.
Yes, he is.
Okay. So that's default
the text,
position when you're, check this out. Like the default position when you're born into this world is you have to realize that, and I think it's like a lot of people don't realize this, but they minimize their sin. So if you minimize your sin, you're obviously going to feel like, well, it's completely okay, like for me to get angry. So if you don't acknowledge that aspect of it, then you are going to look at God that way. But if you actually
I'm sorry, Chris, I don't mean to cut you off, but like there's so many things you're saying right now that are fundamentally like, I think you're missing where we're coming from. And that may be where the hang up here is. Like you're talking about minimizing sin. I don't believe in sin because the concept of sin is going against the will of God. And I don't believe in a God, and I don't like the God on offer. I never worship the Christian God or follow the Christian God if it was real. So like sin means nothing to me. I can still say like, I want to be a good person and I want to reduce my harm on the world, my negative impacts on the world, and taking that framework to kind of speak to the rhetorical goals of what you're saying. Like I can agree with that vibe, but I don't think that necessitates then any kind of system of eternal punishment or anything else in the Bible as being a necessary good that comes along with trying to minimize the harm that I produce on the world. Like if I say, hey, I want to be a good person, I don't then need to say, or else I'll be burned in a lake of fire forever along with all the gay people. Like that doesn't make any sense. I can just say I would like to be a good person and have that be that.
The fact he keeps saying gay so much, let me know.
I mean, you just said you don't acknowledge
that part of the Bible.
But the only thing is, like, if you look around our world today, you read the news articles about, these horrific things that happen to like children and all these other. I don't know how you can't reconcile the fact that inherently, we're evil. And
I don't believe that at all.
I even had like thoughts of like.
How do you wait? Chris, can I ask you something?
You know what I mean? Like I feel like I'm a good person for the most part, but I want to knock the shit out of some people sometimes.
Chris, let me ask you a question. Well, we can get into like conscious, like having a conscience and like how a conscience. But do you think like if I like am holding a toy and a baby snatches that toy out of my hand, is that baby evil? Did that baby like commit a negative moral action?
Well, if you're talking about something at like a, just, I mean, that situation, that's kind of I don't know, like, that's not really related to what I'm talking about.
Yes, it is. If we're inherently evil, then any bad thing a baby does is because the baby is evil. The baby is inherently evil. Do you believe babies to be inherently evil?
What's happening there by that action is it's just like it's not to its full extent, but I think as people progress through life, snatching something from somebody becomes, lying, cheating. You understand?
Then it's not inherent. Then you just described a learned behavior. That's what you just did. You said that it's not evil. It's like if they keep doing these things are going to be seen differently. That's because the baby is exhibiting learned behavior. As it grows, it learns to lie. It learns to steal. It learns to do bad things. We're not born with this inherent drive to do bad things. It's socialized.
Well, I know, but why aren't all the actions good? Why is there lying, cheating? Why do we go in that direction?
Well, lying's not always
lots
bad.
of reasons.
Not always bad.
Yeah, there's lots of reasons, but like everything is contextual.
Circumstances. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, Chris, like we can study like sociology and psychology and history and learn why people do bad things. And there's a lot of reasons. Usually it's because of a worldview issue. It's because they're taught some horrible shit. They are taught to believe some horrible shit. They're taught to see other people as less than themselves. They're taught to see their actions because of some bigger purpose that they believe in that may or may not be real. There's lots and lots of reasons for those things. All of that speak to humans just being a social species with complex psychology and complex motivations. None of that speaks to the inherent evil of people. It just means that you're born ready to learn about the world around you. And if you're taught to be a piece of shit, you'll be a piece of shit.
Okay.
Why wouldn't he think people are inherently good since we're supposed to be made of God's image and God is good? Why would evil come up first instead of they're good? When the truth is they're both. I don't agree with they're both. You have both of them inside of you.
Well, I mean, I kind of feel like we're getting a little bit too off track from what we were kind of discussing, but no, I mean,
sure.
I understand where you're coming from. I mean, you guys are just looking at this from a different point of view than I am.
Can you just tell us, like you say that atheists constantly get the nature of Jesus and the Trinity and all this stuff wrong. What is the nature of misconstruing?
Well, kind of going back to the hell situation, like, and I had kind of talked about sin and you kind of know my view on it. But it's like, I believe that the default position is because of that inherent sin in us, we are all basically by default set to go to hell. And the only way to reconcile that is what Jesus Christ did for us. It's like one of the situations in the Bible, in the Old Testament, the angel of death came over for the Israelites and, took the firstborn. I mean, I know that circumstance, most people would say that's not moral, but that's I just feel like that is a perfect representation.
I don't even feel like pushing wood, but the angel of death concept. So there's an angel walking around doing God's killing for God. God hit man. So God ain't even pulling the trigger himself. Well, he just got somebody going around killing for him. Okay, check. The angel of death. I almost forgot about that pesky little bastard.
Of the situation. It's like you're either in with Jesus Christ or you die and you're not. And unfortunately,
so let's just flesh this out.
The other alternative is not a good one. You know what I mean?
So let's just flesh this out for a second. Do you have children, Chris?
Yeah, I have 2 kids.
Okay. What would your children have to do for you to want to really genuinely seriously hurt them? Not like a little spanking or whatever, because I have problems with them, but like I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like setting them on fucking fire or like cutting off their limbs. Like, what would they have to do for you to be like, what needs to happen right now is I need to torture you? What would they have to do for that?
Well, my answer would be there's nothing they could do that would make me want to hurt.
And yet, for God,
let alone burn them on fire. Go ahead.
Right. And yet for God, the all-knowing and all-merciful, the answer to that question, what would your children have to do for you to want to set them on fire? The answer is be born. You're born evil. And only if you come to me and ask for forgiveness and let me in your heart and all these whatevers, then I will give you the grace of allowing you to live as a slave for the rest of eternity in heaven. How are you going to sit here and tell us that this is the default moral position when not only
Yeah, because I don't know if you people paid attention to the description of heaven, but your memory is erased. You don't get to know your family members. That's in there. It says you do not get to know your family members. So you all your loved ones, they just gone. You better enjoy them while they're here. And then the rest of the time you spend praying. So yeah, that's heaven. You spend all day praying. You spent your whole life praying, and you're gonna spend your whole death praying. But nobody ever talks about that description of heaven there for some odd reason. They just talk about the roads with gold paved roads and shit of that nature. That is the absolute weirdest shit in the world, that you would need golden roads and cars and things of that nature in heaven. But whatever. It's make believe. Put anything you want to up there. You can have a unicorn on 22s with a gold grill if you want. Yes, I'm doing the sound effects, Nugget.
only do we have no reason to believe any of these things are real, but certainly no reason to think that any of these things are good.
Well, I mean, how that in my head would be,
Done, DeMarco, go.
acknowledging the fact that, okay, let me turn that situation back around to you. If you have a son who, you're obviously close to initially, he wanders off and starts partying and, just doing all these immoral things and disrespects your name and has nothing to do with you and is in complete, isn't it a little bit easier to be like, hey, we're going to cut ties, like to estrange yourself from him?
Did he just compare torture to cutting ties? All right, then. Cool. I'm here for it.
Why did you let your son get there in the first place?
So here's the thing. Just context here. Yes, it would be a lot easier to just say, hey, listen, I don't want anything to do with you. You're a bad kid. You've done a bad job at being child. Goodbye. And sure. And if that's what we were talking about, I'd still have a lot of issues, but it'd be a very different conversation than eternal torture and fire. More importantly, however, if I was talking from a position of the divine God, holy, eternal love, why the fuck couldn't I just forgive anything? Isn't forgiveness, isn't jealousy and contempt and holding on to grudges, aren't those sinful and errant behaviors? So wouldn't it be better for God to say, listen,
just for the record, God still ain't forgave Satan. He ain't forgave Satan yet. Just putting that out there. They still ops all these years later because he won't forgive, but we supposed to turn the other cheek.
listen, you're my children. You've been led astray. You made a lot of mistakes. You hurt a lot of people. You did a lot of bad things. You didn't pay attention to me. You didn't respect me. But I love you so much that I'm going to let it go for the cost of nothing, because that's what a good parent would do. Why is there an ultimatum of, if you are mean to me and you hurt my feelings, I'm going to hurt you? Jovan, what are you saying?
It's also just like a really weird, like you're painting God as an absent father. Like that's the fault of God. If God wants us to believe in him and doesn't want us to go out and sin, why doesn't he come and tell me that? Why doesn't he show up to the entire world and be like, hey guys, don't sin. I hate when you do that. Instead, it's like, well, I'm going to let them sin. And when they do stuff that I don't like, then I'm going to punish them. Like you can't imagine your dad leaves when you're 2 and then shows back up when you're 17 and is like, I raised you better than this. No, you didn't. You didn't raise shit.
Okay, but I can also throw a parallel and just say, everybody wants their own privacy. Everybody wants to live their own life.
We're already in your parallel. Why do we need another parallel?
That is such a cop-out. No. You have to see. Do you want your own privacy, and does your desire for your own privacy supersede the fundamental needs of your children?
Are we saying God wants his privacy, or we want?
That's what I thought you were saying.
No. I think the divine hiddenness that you're referring to is actually something a noble deity would do and allow us to make our own decisions.
God used to show himself to everybody and their mother. What do you mean? Now all of a sudden he's shy? He used to be burning bushes. He used to be what?
This is because what you're describing here, what you're trying to use as a shield, is the
This
fundamental
nigga got
issue
on
of the
cat
problem of evil.
ear.
If God
I
is
just
indeed
noticed his
all-knowing and
headphones are
all-powerful,
cat ears.
then
He
you have
definitely
this
gay.
issue here where he is literally watching all the evil that you referenced earlier to try to say that humans are inherently sinful, evil creatures. He's watching every rape. He's watching every pedophile. He's watching every genocide with folded arms, just saying, "Oh man, well, when you die, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna do something about that someday." Unless you say I'm really cool, and then you get to come to the same theme park as everybody else. But if you don't, then you get to go to the pit of fire with every single gay person who ever donated to charity.
I want to reiterate. Jesus absolutely says hell is a physical place that God will send people in the Bible.
And I do believe that. I do believe. Well,
Right.
I mean, I believe
At the start of this call, you told us you did not believe that.
I did. No. I just said there's a misrepresentation of how atheists were portraying hell. I didn't say that it wasn't that physical place. It is a physical place.
Okay.
Maybe spiritual / it's. I think hell is a separate dimension.
It's like upside down.
Those are words. It's fine. Yeah. It's fine.
Yeah, we don't have to go into the specifics, but I believe it's a spiritual / physical dimension that, if you don't align with Jesus Christ, and unfortunately that's the situation. It's like,
why is Jesus vain?
I know where you guys
why is vanity in his nature?
Vanity?
Yes, vanity. You can do anything you want. You can commit as many sins as you want, but if you end up believing me at the end of the day, you're good to go, baby girl. What? That's vanity. That's absolutely.
If you don't accept me, if you don't call me the king above all kings, then I will torture you. But no matter what kind of person you are, if you suck my dick hard enough, you get into heaven. That is the teaching of Jesus.
Hold on.
That's what I'm talking about right there, dude. It's more than that. Like, one example of divine hiddenness is when Christ was on the boat and he fell asleep, right? And everybody's freaking out. Hey, we're about to die. That, I feel like that was okay. So the way that we see God's character is through Christ. So that was an example of him withdrawing himself from everybody on the boat. And he's still there. And then they're like, "Hey, what's going on?" So there's certain things, because God is just. He's holy. He's not like us. And I think that's something we tend to do, is we think about him in a humanistic way. And he's not human.
Because he acts that way. God is so petty that some people stopped believing in him. So he told the Israelites to genocide them. What if God doesn't want to be compared to us? Don't act like us. But I want to. This might seem like a weird little off thing, but like, have you ever noticed, Forrest, that when you read the Bible, it reads like somebody who's coming up with this shit on the fly? Because I wanted to be reminded of the story of Jesus on the boat with the storm, and reading it is like Jesus left the crowd. They took him along just as he was in the boat. There were also other boats with him. I feel like it's like it reads like somebody who's literally coming up with it. Anyway,
it's exactly what you would expect from a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy of a bunch of fucking Iron Age folktales. But like, here's the thing, Chris, what you're talking about here. You're saying God is so above us and not human. Is jealousy a noble attribute that is like a hallmark of like a divine creator?
Well, see, that's the thing, is I think there's righteous anger. There's
I asked about jealousy.
Ideal. Well, that's what I'm saying, is like everything that we experience on earth, like the hatred and all these other things, and no, not hatred. That's always bad. That
I asked
anger
about jealousy
and things like that. Well, yeah, but I'm just saying that can be.
Looks like Jesus and God left him hanging on this phone conversation. They didn't have they was on vacation or something. They did not want to help this man out at all. They is laughing. Both of these folks is laughing at this man.
Sometimes maybe a positive thing, and
jealousy. So you're saying
circumstances.
That jealousy and envy can be positive things that are the hallmark of a perfect creator.
I'm saying that there may be an ideal way that we're not seeing, that it's meant to. I can't really articulate exactly what I'm trying to.
Well, I'm trying to ask you. God is this infinitely wise, infinitely just, infinitely brilliant, whatever else, and yet He is jealous. God says his name is jealousy. He is so jealous that he is named jealousy. God is wrathful.
But what is
This is in the Bible. If I'm not mistaken, it's in Exodus. When he giving out them 10 commandments that when he giving out the 10 commandments that we didn't get, because you know the tablets got broke and then Moses had to redo them, so we didn't get them officially. But yeah, he definitely says his name is jealous. Nobody talks about that either. It's just amazing what people who say they read their Bible ignoring that motherfucker. They just skip on past it. Pastor didn't say read that verse. I ain't got that verse highlighted. If it was important, it would be marked with highlighter in my Bible if it was right. Let's imagine this is a holy book. It's God's words, and niggas is just taking highlighters all over that motherfucker. Won't write on their walls and shit of that nature, but the Bible, write all over that motherfucker. Color it. You care. Good morning, yours truly.
God
jealous
for anybody who worships any other gods. He calls himself so jealous. Not saying like I fear for their safety or I don't want them to be. He says this hurts my ego. I am jealous. He is prideful. That is not a hallmark of someone who is well-adjusted and wise. Go on, Joanne.
Chris, you specifically said hatred is always bad, but God hates in the Bible.
He does.
He literally says, I loved Jacob, but who was it? Esau, I hated. He literally says, I hated a person, Esau. So like, if hatred is always bad, then God is bad.
He also says that he regrets making humans
that could be
a couple of times.
translated.
Guess what, guys? Guess what color Esau was? Esau was the dark heroine, and God hated him. Why? I was talking about this the other day on Jed's story too. I forgot all about God hating him. But he definitely had favor towards Jacob and not towards the dark one for some odd reason. This is the Bible, though. King James Version.
It's righteous anger. Go ahead.
But that's the thing. God is jealous. God is envious. God is prideful. God is hateful. God is wrathful. God is cruel. God is at no point in this Bible is God ever depicted as anything but human. In his appetites, in his anger, in his emotions, in his inability to control himself. God sets a tree on fire, or no, he didn't set it on fire, pardon me. He destroys it by withering it with magic because it isn't producing fruit for him out of season when he wants it. God murders millions of babies because
he had a bunch of bears maul some kids because they called a dude bald.
Because they called the guy bald that he liked. He called his, and he, like, at one point, God kills, you even brought up all the firstborn children of Egypt, just children who had nothing to do with the situation that God was ultimately responsible for anyway. Those children are murdered. And you know what? Those children all ended up in hell because they were Egyptian children worshiping Egyptian gods. So because they were born to the wrong parents, that was their sin. They were born to the wrong family and taught the wrong religion. They were murdered in the night by an angel God sent to destroy them and tossed into the lake of fire for the rest of eternity, all because God wanted to swing his dick around and show.
Oh, and let me add, this came because God took away Pharaoh's free will. He hardened his heart so all of this shit could be done. That was one of the plagues, the death of the firstborn. That was like the first Passover because they put the blood on their thing, and the angel of death recognized the animal blood and was like, no, don't go here because they got animal blood on their door. And the Egyptians didn't see all these damn animals being slaughtered and blood passed around to stop this shit from going on. They didn't find it suspicious. But now, seriously, what he just said happened because they was born into the wrong family and taught the wrong religion, and because God hardened Pharaoh's heart to not let the people go.
His great power to the Pharaoh, who he already forced to keep slaves. Like, I'm sorry, the Bible itself says something very different than what you're trying to tell us. And if you're going to sit here and say with a straight face that there is a good reason for all of us to be tortured and for all of us to be so wrongly judged by a monster whose sins far outweigh our own, I simply can't take you seriously. I think that you're just buying into some bullshit indoctrination.
If God is such a jealous God, why doesn't he kill the other God so it'll only be him? No other gods should be in existence. We shouldn't be able to read about them or anything. They should be obsolete. But he don't do that. God is chilling. He worked too hard in the Old Testament. The nigga is on a forever vacation.
And not thinking critically about what you're actually saying. And then you're framing that lack of critical thinking as the accurate interpretation of an Iron Age sex manual.
Okay. Well, I mean, you're completely entitled to that opinion. I'll tell you what. I mean, obviously, I need to do a little bit more reading in the Old Testament. These situations to kind of
I can tell you right now what I'm referencing. I can tell you right now what I'm referencing. Well, I can tell you about where God actually uses human sacrifice, not just once, but twice, to satisfy his ego. What? I can tell you where God slaughters children.
Go back, Forrest. Go back to the very beginning of the Old Testament, where God literally punishes us for something he lied about.
He
God punishes us for a goddamn lie, bro.
God tells the first lie in the universe and then punishes people for doing something that they did not even know was wrong. When Jovan gave the example of a baby acting like a baby,
I think they
God not only would say that baby.
I think they're saying that when he told them if they eat of the fruit, they will surely die. I guess they're saying that's a lie because they didn't die. They died eventually. But yeah, that's the loophole you give the Christians with that one, because people do die eventually. But now, before Adam and Eve was made in the garden, when God was creating and stuff, he had told people to be fruitful and multiply. Who the fuck was he talking to? And replenish the earth. How do you replenish something if you're the first ever creation? But whatever. It don't even matter. But this is before he created the Adam. He gave him it's just crazy. Read the book. Read it. Start over.
Evil for being a baby. He would punish that baby and their descendants for the rest of time for it. That's literally exactly what he did in the Bible. He took two people who were literally born yesterday and judged them for not knowing good and evil before they had the knowledge of good and evil. And then not only punished them, but punished every single human for the rest of time, especially women. That is some North Korea bullshit, dude. And that's not us misrepresenting it. That is us reading and reporting on the actual text.
I know what you're talking about with original sin. And I mean, I've kind of tried to think through certain situations on that, but it's like, but still, you're still shifting. I mean, the thing is, you said that they were just created. I think they were, I mean, the time that they were alive, I think there was a period of time that they were, but regardless, they understood that if they were to eat the fruit, that they would die. So there was, you're kind of,
no, they didn't.
I mean, you're kind of shifting it off.
The Bible says they didn't.
How so?
They didn't die. Didn't Adam live to be like 300 or something?
Some weird shit like that. The thing is, God tells the first lie in the universe. God says, if you eat from this tree, you will die this very same day. You will die immediately. All the serpent
years,
says,
by the way.
Yes, the serpent says, no, you won't. That's all that happened. The entire lecture, the entire thing that the sermon says, the whole evil trickery of the serpent is he tells the truth. He says, you will not die if you eat this. And then they eat it. And guess what? They don't fucking die. They live for 1,000 years.
All while getting to watch their kids bone.
He was obviously talking about,
and also almost certainly boning their kids because they had 2 sons and then more humans happened. So like it's one of the many times incest is glorified in the Bible.
What? Okay. Well, I mean, I think you're talking about physical death and
y'all. That's the reason Philadelphia fucked her uncle. She was reading the Bible. They did it in the Bible. That's how we got here. So she thought it was okay to fuck her uncle.
I think God obviously values
and God
our spiritual and the spiritual nature of everything. So I think that's probably what he was referring to.
Probably, maybe, but it doesn't say it. So it's just your interpretation.
Wait, but even if that is the case, Adam and Eve, like it's widely believed by Christians that Adam and Eve are in heaven. So they didn't experience a spiritual death either. Right. But the bigger issue here is we keep having this conversation with people who talk about like the nature of Jesus and the nature of God and blah, blah, blah. God decided to punish us for a test he set up knowing we would fail. Like the nature of that is imagine Imagine Jigsaw captures you, puts you in a chair, and says, if you press this button, you'll get out. But he knows for a fact there is no way for you to press that button. He made it impossible for you to. That's not a fair test.
It is crazy because like that is actually the exact situation we're in. Is that God? You're looking at this horrible situation, this insane test where we have to. The test is, can you believe bullshit on bad evidence? And if the answer is yes, then you get to go to a magical land in the world, in the sky for the rest of your life, or for the rest of eternity, or whatever like that. And if the answer is no, you get tortured forever. And you're looking at this, Chris, as if that's just normal. That's just the way it is, and just believe in Jesus, and then it'll be fine. It is the same thing. I love the analogy of Jigsaw. It's somebody in the Saw movie just being like, well, fuck, man, if you didn't want to die, you should have just got your eyeball out. That's what you're supposed to do. We're all born with a key behind our eyeballs. No, I never watched any of them.
Okay, almost every trap in Saw 2 is unwinnable. The Bible is Saw 2.
The Bible is Saw 2.
Yeah, like every trap.
That's the moral of
Well, somebody actually survived Saw. They survived. I forgot the person that did it. I think they had the razor blade slice them up real good. But one person survived. No, in the first movie, dude cut his hand off of something. He cut his hand or foot off of something to get free. The first dude in the first movie. That may have been the same one where he got his hands cut up with razor blades and shit too. But that's funny. He said the Bible is Saw 2. No matter what you do, you're going to end up in hell. Good morning, E. Brooks.
The premise of Saw 2 is unwinnable. If God didn't want us to eat the fruit, why did he let the serpent lie? Well, not lie, but why did he let the serpent talk to us to begin with?
I don't know. I heard about Jimmy Kimmel, but I mean, we've all known Jimmy Kimmel got a boss. Jimmy Kimmel's bosses and them, they have to have sponsors and shit. So while we have free speech, it comes at a cost. But we've known that for at least 20 years now with the cancer culture.
Just take away the serpent's ability to speak.
You're
Why didn't you put the tree in another goddamn garden?
The accountability off to like
he's omniscient. He's omniscient. He knew when he put the tree there that the serpent would at some point come up to Adam and Eve and be like, "Hey, yo, eat that shit." If he didn't, and us, I get it. He wants us to have free will, so he won't affect what we do. But he doesn't want the serpent to have. He doesn't give a shit if the serpent has free will. Why not just take away the serpent's ability to speak, and then problem solved, and snakes can keep their legs?
Okay, so it says that God is sovereign and everything happens according to his will. So what you're saying, according to the Bible, was in alignment with what God willed. And
yes, he wants to torture us.
Now that's an interesting statement there.
I don't think he wants, I mean, it's kind of a Calvinist type of view, but
sure. Do you believe that? Do you believe that, Chris, that everything that happens is according to God's will?
I do.
And that's the thing. They act like Trump don't have supporters. Most of his bosses, as he found out, his bosses are Trump supporters because before the SEC even stepped in, Nexstar Television, which puts him in like 250 countries or wherever the fuck, not 250 countries because it's not that many damn countries, but it distributes his show pretty much to all these whatever the fucks there are. And he they said, nah, we're gonna mute him. And so yeah, it's just his bosses apparently support Trump. It's not like Donald made a phone call. That's what they decided to do. For some reason, Charlie Kirk has become a martyr, and yeah, it's crazy out here. But I mean, the same thing happened with George Floyd. The same thing happened when you said something about him and you was white, you got fired. If you were part of January 6th, people was finding you and calling your bosses and shit of that nature. That was boycotting if you had businesses and you were connected to January 6th. So everybody's doing it. An eye for an eye leaves everybody blind, but both sides are doing it. And so an even swap ain't no swindle. Donna didn't make no call. He would have been doing it. If that's the case, he would have been doing it. He would have did it the first term. He would have did it early when he first won the term, and they was all on his ass. I don't even remember. I heard the clip, but I don't even remember what he said that was so inflammatory. I know he connected the shooter of Charlie Kirk to MAGA, but I don't know what was so inflammatory for his own network to say they was gonna sit him down for a minute.
Is it possible? Is it possible for anything at all to happen which violates or goes against God's will?
Don't do it, Chris. Don't do it. Don't do it.
I mean,
don't do it.
There's
I'm trying
things
to
that
save you here.
happen
Don't do
that
it.
God would not. There's things that happen that are not. You know what? I know what you're trying to do here.
I'm trying to save you from this one. I see a deer and I see headlights coming, and I'm like, get out of the road, and you're just like, but it's so pretty. Get out of the road, Chris.
Hey man, if it's what you believe, then I have questions about it. I'm just trying to be honest with it and see if this is what you believe. So I'm not putting words in your mouth. I'm asking you a direct question. Is it possible for anything to happen that God doesn't ordain, that he does, that is not part of his divine plan, that goes against his will, even if it's something he may not necessarily like at the beginning? Is it something that he wants because it happens?
If God is sovereign and all-knowing, then I would have to say that everything happens in alignment with his will.
Last question, Chris.
I mean, that
is God's will and plan and all that. It's fair to say that his divine plan and his will then they're not the same thing, but the terms can be used sort of synonymously, right? We can agree on that.
Okay. Yep.
So then last question for you. Do you agree that God's divine plan, God's will is good?
You couldn't hear me, but I was playing down the sinking of the ship.
No, I see it coming. I saw it.
Well, I hate the fact that, people would have to spend.
Hatred's always bad, Chris. Remember, hatred is always bad.
Sorry. You're going to keep tap dancing around it and try to make it more comfortable. But the question is God's plan good?
Yeah.
I would say yes. That's a pretty good
argument. I'm saying because I align with Christianity and Jesus Christ, I would say yes.
All right. So here we are at the end of the call then, Chris, because here's the framing. And this is not me misrepresenting anything. This is what you have just said is your belief. And this is where we are. You started at the beginning talking about how humans are inherently evil and all these things, and we have to go to hell because there's all these terrible things happen in the world. At the end of the day, you like the things that happen in the world. All the terrible things, all the rape, all the murder, all the pedophilia, all the genocide, every single bit of it is good because it's part of God's plan. It does not violate God's will. It's exactly what God wants to happen. God is sovereign and ordains every bit of it. He doesn't just allow it to happen. It is happening because he is making it happen, because he wants it to happen, because he is all powerful and all knowing. You, Chris, see the genocide of Palestine. You, Chris, see the rape of babies. You, Chris, see the slaughter of innocent people all around the world. And you say, that is what is supposed to happen. Fuck yeah, sign me up for more of that because that's what God wants. And I'm a Christian and I'm a part of this plan. And also, every single person who goes to hell, that is a good thing. That is part of God's plan. God isn't sad that they go to hell. God made them knowing who they would be, knowing that they would die in sin, knowing what the sins were that they would commit, and knowing they would go to hell. And he made them anyway because he wanted them to go to hell. Those people being tortured for all eternity. He made those people for the express purpose of torturing them for all eternity. That is their purpose. That is his goal. Every single evil thing you've called in bitching about and saying that we're not having the right perspective on is a good thing in your worldview because God commanded it and ordained it and allowed it and made it happen. It is part of his will, part of his plan. You haven't a dick to stand on here, sir. I'm sorry. This is not our misinterpretation of your Wooly book. This is your evil ass ideology that we refuse to be a part of.
Tried to save you, Chris. Really?
I was the
snake.
He was more merciful. No, you were more merciful than Jesus himself. You were sticking up for the guy.
What it do, Glib?
I feel like you're talking about all the bad.
Yes, because the bad is inevitably God's fault. We can sit here and talk about all the beautiful
sunsets.
I don't give a shit. There's no amount of happy.
My nigga said you talking about all the bad shit, but he started off saying we all forget us humans are inherently bad. Well, so the fuck is God? If he allow all this bad shit to go on and we created in his image, he's inherently bad. For you to point out, you talk about all the bad shit. Yep, just like you did.
be hopeful, happy, cheering and clapping of hands and all the beautiful flowers and look at the trees and the mountains that justifies or excuses the rape of children. But your God likes that shit and wants it to happen. So here we are. I'm not into it.
We
and
can't,
with that,
we can't do this thing. We can't do, like, just real quick. I just want to say we can't do this thing where we go, well, all the good things are good, and then just absolve God of all the bad. Like, that's just like, you wouldn't do that with anybody. You ain't doing that with Hitler. You ain't saying, look at all the inventions and medicine the Nazis made. But it doesn't matter that
he built some highways, he had a social security program, but you're just focused on this whole Holocaust thing. I mean, fuck, man. Chris, it's been 40 minutes and it's been real fucking gross. I think we're about done. Jovan, do you have anything else for Chris before we wrap up?
No.
I mean, the way
Chris,
that
I'll let you have the last word then.
I'm not in agreement with, or okay,
what did I say? What did I say that is outside? No, I'm not letting you get away with that. What did I say that did not align with the agreements that you gave? That everything God wills is good and nothing happens that goes against God's will. God is in complete control all the time and everything God does is good. You said God is good all the time, and all the time God is good. You said God controls every single thing. You agreed with the Bible that he counts the hairs on your head, not a single sparrow falls from the sky, that without him knowing that you agreed with all of these things, and then we just brought up the evil shit that God must then be responsible for. So how is that a bad slant on exactly what you said?
I mean, I just can't agree with what you're saying because I think it's a matter of the framing of how you're coming at me. This is the problem I have with.
Wait, I'll do it. Wait, let me.
What did I say that was incorrect?
Wait.
What did I say that was incorrect?
What's the opposite of an anger translator? I'm going to be that. I'm going to be the opposite of Luther, the anger translator. Listen.
Hey, I'll tell you what.
Wait, Chris.
We have been on here. Yeah. Go ahead.
I just want to try and bridge a gap here. Is God responsible for all of the good that happens in the world?
Yes, he's responsible for all the good.
Is he responsible for all the bad?
Well, I mean, I'm saying that there's free will. He doesn't have any control over what people.
All right.
Come on. Grow a spine, man. Say the thing. Chris, I am begging you, don't try to fucking make this more comfortable for yourself. The answer is yes. God, the Bible says that, and you just said that. So just be honest. Is God responsible for all the evil in the world? Yes or no?
Just so you know, Chris, God in the Bible, in the Old Testament, says that he is responsible for all the bad.
And you also said that a minute ago. So both you and the Bible say yes. We're just trying to get you to say it out loud.
Let's TBD. Okay, let me take a break. Let's not pin this on me.
LMNOP.
Take a break. I'll call you guys back. You probably haven't.
Chris, I got to tell you right now, just seriously, I want to thank you. You've been incredibly honest and you've been a great, guest here. I appreciate you letting two hosts talk so much and answering our questions as best as you could answer them. It's been great. But I got to tell you right now, I'm giving you respect here. I am insulting what you're doing, but I want to say I'm not trying to be an asshole to you. It sounds like what just happened here is you just got backed into a corner where, because of your own admission, you now have to grapple with the fact that your God is ultimately responsible for all of the evil things that you are using to try to justify the evil shit that God does, like hell. And now that is no longer a thing you can hold on to. Now that God is the arbiter of evil and the executioner as well, and the judge, he makes the evil, he judges the evil, he creates more evil, he judges that evil. Now that you're in this fucking box, it sounds like you're wanting to go fuck off and talk to somebody else about it. And I wish that you could just sit here in this discomfort for a second and just acknowledge the fact that what you just said is, we didn't mischaracterize you. Do you agree? We didn't misrepresent you. We didn't frame anything negatively. We just said what you said back to you. We just said the other side of it.
Okay. I mean, I understand where you guys are coming from, but what I need to do is I need to do some research. I need to figure out a little bit more on the specific sovereignty of God, and I'll come back to you guys. And
this motherfucker don't even know what sovereignty means.
Wait, I want to point this out. What's happening right now is what happens to a lot of people who are confronted with information that goes against their belief system. Your brain is physically fighting you to try to hold on because change in our brain is a chemical reaction that physically hurts us. It actually triggers pain receptors in our goddamn brains, and your brain is fighting right now against a belief change, because if it does do a belief change, it's going to feel some pain. I think the wrong thing to do is to go and be like, let me go research this a little more. No, just go sit with it for a little more. Don't open a book. Don't do anything. Sit with what you're feeling right now and grapple with the fact that if everything is according to God's will, God wants bad things to happen.
And what inevitably is going to happen here, Chris, is that like if you go away from this and you think more about this concept of divine hiddenness, what's going to happen is one of two things. Either number one, you're just going to completely ignore everything that happened in this call. You're going to go on believing whatever the fuck you believe, which is a dishonest and shitty thing to do, but it happens a lot of the time with religious beliefs and shit like that. I'm not whatever. The second thing that could potentially happen is that you're just going to adapt your faith, where you're going to say, okay, well, here's this other thought stopper, this other thing. Free will. God doesn't control our free will. And so all the terrible things that happen in the world is us. And God doesn't necessarily like those things or want those things to happen, but he allows them to happen so as not to blah, 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 which puts God back in the exact same box of being, number one, directly responsible for everything, or at least ultimately culpable for everything. And number two, it doesn't get you away from the fact where the parts of the Bible where God violates free will and clearly doesn't matter. Number three, it doesn't get you away from the fact that Satan knows God exists very fucking well and still rebels against him. So clearly free will has nothing to do with knowing whether or not God is real or any of those things. Like, you're not going to be able to grapple with those things. And you're going to call us back and we're going to talk more about how this fucking sucks. And you're going to be in the same position where you're going to say, well, fuck. Either now I need to ignore that this show existed or I need to adapt my faith further. And this right here at the beginning of the call, I asked you what kind of Christian you were. That's why. This is why there are over 40,000 kinds of Christianity. Because every motherfucking time we talk to a Christian on the show that says some heinous shit about sin, about hell, about slavery, about whatever, and we address it and talk about it and do exactly what we did here. We recited your words back to you. We just said the other side of your theology that you didn't like, which is reasonable. It makes sense you wouldn't like it. We get another Christian caller who says you misrepresented my fucking religion and you're looking at things differently. And it's actually this way because they've been in the same spot that you're in. They've done the same dance that you're doing right now. They've been as uncomfortable as you are right now. And they deconstructed a little bit further and then built that bullshit right back up with new dogma. And man, Chris, like I said, you have been really nice. And I don't want you to fucking do that. I don't want you to fucking just redesign the bullshit to make it more comfortable. I want you to sit with this discomfort and realize that it fucking sucks for a reason. It sucks because you're a good person and you're better than the God you believe in. And now you're fucking dealing with that for a second, man.
Chris, please call Forrest back the next time he's live and have the exact same conversation. Like when you go back and listen to this and have the exact same arguments, because I just feel like that would be really funny.
I'm going to lose it. I'm going to lose it if that happens.
I agree with Forrest here. What's happening right now is your brain is deconstructing, and deconstructing religion is hard, especially if you have been a religious person for most of your life. And it's not, I don't think you have to go full non-religion, right? You can still be spiritual. You can still maybe say, hey, maybe there is a God. I just don't know what he's like. I'm just saying that the Bible, the God that you're holding on to, is a piece of garbage. He is shit. He is a shitty person, not a person, whatever, but he's a shitty being. And quite honestly, to follow him is to believe in shitty things. So I hope you can break that habit. Be the change you want to see in the world, Chris.
Yeah, definitely.
Be the change you want to see in the Bible.
Be the change you want to see be the God you want to see in the Bible.
Yes. Be better than Jesus. Go ahead, Chris. We've been talking for a while. What are you saying?
Well, I mean, but there's really nothing. Yeah. You probably have other callers, but I'm saying but if you really look at the teachings of Christ, I mean, can you really point out one thing that was horrible?
I will tell you. If you want to look at me and say, Jovan, I love the story of the sheep and the goats. Jesus in the sheep and the goats, I think is A1 day one. I'm a literal communist, and Jesus and the sheep and the goats goes, let's do communism, basically. Anything else, I'm just sort of like, okay.
Yeah, the story of it's in Acts when it talks about the first Christians who had the perfect Christian society for a little while, and it was a communist society. It was everybody shared everything they had. Nobody wanted for anything because everybody freely supported each other. Man? There was no need for money and possessions and shit. I'm a socialist, not a communist, but fuck, man.
I'll get you over to my side.
We'll talk about it later. We have a call about it on the line waiting. But that's it's same thing. In what part of it? I think it was in Judges. I could be wrong. There's some part of the Bible where it talked about it's giving more commandments, and God says that if you have a field of crops, don't harvest some of them. Leave I think it's some small. I forgot what measurement they said, but leave some portion of these crops unharvested so that any poor person passing by can take free food. What a fucking awesome story.
It's Levitical laws. The Levitical.
Yes.
Leviticus, by the way, Chris, where God also says
we can end on a positive note here.
And those things are great.
Right.
Those things are good. But then also Jesus also says own slaves. So because Jesus never specifically says slavery is good. But Yes. So the Bible is a pro-slavery book front to back, and
Oh,
the
God.
God
Chris
of
has
the
to call
God
back.
in the Old Testament, God very clearly says own slaves. And Jesus says later on, Jesus says, not a jot or a tittle of the law changes till all things come to pass. I come not to change the law, but to fill it. I am the same God as I have always been, past, present, and future. I never change my mind. He says all that same shit that God, the Old Testament, says as well. So when God in Exodus and Leviticus said, own slaves, here's how to do it, here's how to beat them, here's how to pay for them, here's what you can do with them, all those. When God said all that shit, Jesus also meant all that shit if you believe in like Trinitarianism and shit like that. But that's a whole other conversation for another time.
Yeah, we could discuss that later. But cool, guys. I appreciate your time. Good conversation.
And Forrest, do you want to tell Chris about our farm before he hangs up?
Oh yeah, Chris. Fucking real talk. There's the thing called recovering from religion. We continue if you want to have these conversations in a less intense way as well. I would love to talk to you again though. So like, if you want to call back next time, either I or Javon are on,
sure,
and we'll keep spitting at you. We would love to do it.
Okay. Yeah, definitely, man.
Yeah.
Yep. Nice chat, guys.
Take care of yourself, Chris. Be awesome.
Okay.
Do good things.
Right.
Be better than Jesus. See you later.
All right, man. All right.
There's Adam, pronouns he, him, calling in from kangaroo yo-yos. Are the kangaroos yo-yoing? Do the yo-yos have kangaroos on them? Are the yo-yos shaped like kangaroos? The world may never know. Adam's calling to ask what kind of evidence we're looking for. Adam, you're on the line with Force and Promise. How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you guys?
I'm awesome, man.
Good.
Living the dream right now.
Cool.
And I don't mean that in the dumb millennial, ironic way. I mean,
I
this is
mean,
actually
if
freaking
you
great.
can do works greater than he.
You know, I always feel bad that I am grouped in with millennials. I mean, I'm more of the first age era of millennials, but a lot of us, the first ones, get a bad rap.
I'm a proud cringe millennial. I love it. Like all the millennial things.
Deeply cringe. I'm all about it. I live to make young people just like suck their own faces into their heads just by how embarrassed they are of me. John, Adam, you're sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. I was just going to see what Adam wanted to talk about.
Yeah, you say you're wanting to know what evidence we're looking for. Do you have a particular way you'd like to phrase that question?
Actually, I was just I just logged on or just watched some of your videos. Probably started yesterday. I've only seen like 2, so you have to forgive me if I'm not familiar with
good.
your entire library.
Yeah. How dare you
Of
not
what
watch
you
the
have.
hundreds of hours of our dumbasses talking about Jesus? Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. We're here to take questions.
What I'm particularly curious about is I'm a theist. I'm actually an ordained minister, but I've been in ministries for about 26 years. But I've always I've been all across the world. I think 17 different countries. I served in the military. I met people from different religions, different backgrounds. I was really interested in science. Whenever I went to college, my goal was to become a theoretical physicist. So that pursued me into the universe, and then I got down to where we all came from. So I typically ask, what people believe on our origin. And I haven't heard out of the videos that I've watched of you guys what y'all specifically believe.
As far as the origins of the universe entirely, or of life, or like what?
As far as where we came from, are you guys more of a macro evolution? Are you guys more of a Big Bang because of cosmic background radiation that we've found? Or are you guys, do you guys believe we came from intelligent sources, non-intelligent sources?
Yeah. Promise, you want to go first? Or you want me to?
I really want you to go first because you're actually an expert.
I am no such thing. No, so I'm a biologist, and I dig into this kind of stuff, and I actually study evolution, specifically human evolution, quite a bit. I specialize in evolutionary biology and bioanthropology for a lot of my research days. And so the Big Bang and evolution, all these things, these are different claims. Excuse me 1 second. I had a grump in my throat, pardon me. But these are all different things, different events at different times that cause different stuff. So yes, the Big Bang is the beginning of the observable universe as we know it, the beginning of space and time as we know it. 13.8 billion years ago, we have a tremendous amount of evidence pointing that direction. You mentioned cosmic microwave background radiation. That's one good one, but it's not certainly the only one. Skip forward a long time, about 9 billion years, and you get to the beginning of the Earth. We know how planets form. So I should say we know how stars work. We know about stellar nucleosynthesis and how stars create new elements. We know how stars explode and scatter those elements all around across the cosmos. We know how planets form. You have a stellar nebula, forming this star, and then you have the accretion disk of all this stuff floating around. We know that rocky stuff coagulates pretty quickly. You know, these chunks of meteors and stuff form into big asteroids, which form into planetesimals, which form into planets. We know that solar winds blow a lot of the gases out towards the outer edge of the solar system. That's why we have terrestrial rocky planets in the center, and we have Jovian gassy planets out there at the end, where all the solar winds have blown all those light gases way there far out there. Around these terrestrial planets, we have relatively small atmospheres. As far as how life gets started on this planet, that's abiogenesis. We have a tremendous amount of evidence showing that. We know that the stuff that makes life self-assembles all the time, all by itself, not only on the planet Earth, but also out in space, where nobody can accuse some biased scientist of tweaking the knobs and contaminating the jars. We know that those things polymerize by themselves. We know a lot of how they do that as well. And we know that life started at the absolute latest by about 3.8 billion years ago, 3.8 billion years ago here on this planet, maybe a little earlier, but absolutely by the latest, by 3.8 billion years ago. And we know that evolution works, and we know how it works. We know a lot about evolution and how it changes those simple organisms into more complex organisms over time, especially human evolution. We have a ton amount, it's a ridiculous amount of data on. In fact, there's a lot of argument and debate within the bioanthropological community over where to classify these different fossils and different species of humans, because we just have too many damn fossils, Adam. So yeah, as far as where we come from, going back to the beginning of the universe all the way up to now, we have pretty solid naturalistic understanding of these things. Natural processes taking us this whole way. We have pretty solid models for all those things. We certainly do not know everything. There's a lot of shit that we don't know, but we know a lot more today than we did last year. We know a lot more than we did 10 years ago. We know a lot more than we did 50 years ago. We're learning more cool stuff every day, and we've yet to find a single reason to think that there was any supernatural influence on absolutely any of it.
I gotcha. So I know I forget the guy's name. One of the guys who discovered cosmic background radiation. I think his name started with an A. Alan, you may know his name right off the bat. I'm not a scientist, but he wrote a paper.
I'm not a physicist. I don't remember that guy either.
Yeah, afterwards he discovered, cosmic background radiation, and he said that the universe came from supernatural origins. So how can an evidence that is based solely on, people use for the Big Bang, which is one of the leading pieces of evidence that we have for the Big Bang, whenever the man who discovered it says it's supernatural, how do we draw these other conclusions off of it?
So here's the thing. I'm just gonna double check here. Are you talking about Arno Allen? That's it.
Penzias?
Yeah. All right, cool. So let's grab him for a second and let's just pop him. Oh my fucking God, Mouse, I need you to behave. And we're gonna talk about supernatural origin of universe. And I'm just gonna double check. In the absence, so astronomy leads us, here's this guy, blah, blah, blah. And we're going to say supernatural. Astronomy leads us to a unique event. The universe was created out of nothing and delicately balanced to provide exactly the conditions to support life. In the absence of absurdly improbable accident, the observations of modern science seem to suggest an underlying, one might say, supernatural plan. And he is quoted in this, whatever, the Just So universe as saying this. So this is a person who is a theist and a scientist and who discovered a really cool thing about the Big Bang. So he's not saying the Big Bang didn't happen. And he's not saying that there isn't a natural origin to life or anything like that. He's saying that this universe seemingly came out of nowhere and seems balanced to provide the conditions to support life. And that is a very common theistic claim, very common. I used to work for a guy who was a PhD in particle physics, who was also a Catholic. And he talked to me about how, like, the physics, the beautiful laws of physics that he observed and studied were so perfect that they are worthy of the God that he believed in. This is not uncommon at all. I think it's important to point out, however, that that's one dude, and that by and large, the largest, scientists tend to be atheists a lot of the time. The highest preponderance of atheists in science, the highest percentage, I don't know why I'm using preponderance in this way, but the highest percentage of atheists in the scientific community tend to be in things like physics and evolutionary biology, because we don't need these questions anymore. So yeah, there's lots of scientists that are religious. There's lots of scientists that have different religions that go against what this guy's religion is. That's not a reason, just because this guy can't come up with a good reason to say the universe came out of nothing, which is a weird thing to say, because I don't know of any other theoretical physicists who would use that kind of language too often. That's not really a reason to believe in any kind of a supernatural thing, because I don't think that's the actual claim he's making.
Well, I mean, the supernatural origin, I mean, it's kind of, I know you guys are asking for majority evidence of things, and, something coming from nothing has never actually been observed. So,
do you want to know where I think the universe came from?
Where's that?
I have no idea. I just have no idea. I don't think it came from nothing. I just don't know. I have no idea. And that's why I don't believe in a God.
And so, and that's the thing, man. I'm sorry, you go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you guys off. I apologize.
No, there's a delay.
Whenever,
It's just nobody's fault. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I break things down. Whenever I was, I never finished my degree. Whenever I got out of the military, I suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder, and I had
I'm sorry to
to
hear that.
end my college degree. But whenever I was studying, I grouped things into falsifiable theories and unfalsifiable theories. To me, actual science was provable, testable, and repeatable. And then we have the unfalsifiable theories, and then creation falls into that unfalsifiable theory. So does macroevolution, because let's say, as a hypothetical, let's say for the next 10,000 years, we find a hot spring and we begin recording all of the activity at this hot spring starting today, uninterrupted by mankind. And for the next 10,000 years, a cell has formed into a slug. Now, I'm not saying the timelines are exactly correct, but
Sure.
have we proved evolution? And the answer is, we proved that evolution occurred, but we didn't prove that our origins are from the same process. So
Right.
in order to prove that, you would basically need to contact Doctor Who and get your hands on a TARDIS. But
Right.
it's something that it's an unfalsifiable theory. So I know you
So
say
that's
that we know
there's a
these
couple
things,
issues.
but yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I thought you were at the end of your sentence. If you want to finish that sentence, I'm fine with it.
Oh no, go ahead.
Okay, so a couple of things. Number one, I think that what Promise just said is really important. As I said when I was talking about these things we do know, I also made sure to point out there's a ton that we don't know. But I don't know doesn't equal God. And so, like, even if I were to take it back to, to throw away the Big Bang, throw away evolution, throw away everything. We don't know anything about the universe. There's still not a good reason to insert magic as the explanation. You would need evidence to make a decision. And the second thing, you said that macroevolution is unfalsifiable. That's fundamentally untrue. There's plenty of ways we can falsify evolution. Like, for example, if we were to find one single human fossil down next to a T-Rex fossil and it's dated the same date, we're done. Evolution's over. It's done with. There have been plenty of times over the course of our study of evolution that we have thought we found the end of it, where we found a problem. For example, human chromosome number 2. We chimps and bonobos are our closest relatives. They're our closest cousins, and yet they have an extra pair of chromosomes that we don't have. Losing a chromosome in the short amount of time from when we split from the lineage of chimpanzees would be a lethal deletion that would not be possible. And so the only explanation that's possible, either two chromosomes fuse together or evolution's done. That is falsified. That evolution is not real if we cannot find where this fucking chromosome went. And sure enough, we look at human chromosome number 2, and it's two chromosomes fused together. It's a Robertsonian translocation. It's something that we actually understand the mechanisms of, and we now know where that chromosome went. And so, like, there's plenty of ways you could prove evolution wrong. And despite several chances of evolution being proven wrong, evolution always comes up as being right. And when you talk about, we can prove evolution happens, that doesn't necessarily prove that we evolved. True. But we also have separate evidence of humans evolving. When we look at the fossil record of just our ancestors, you can pretty easily build a straight line. Even though evolution doesn't really deal in straight lines, that's not the point. We're talking colloquially here, but we actually do have separate evidence of just that. And even now, we can look at just humans today and see several markers of our evolutionary history, several vestigial structures, several indicators of our history written all over our bodies. So, it's not just like, yeah, we can watch some bacteria evolve in a lab, therefore I know humans evolved too. That's not good evidence at all for human evolution. The evidence for human evolution is the evidence that I'm trying to propose for human evolution.
Well, I have a question. What about the existence of out-of-order fossils? Like, we found out-of-order fossils nearly all over the planet, and these usually, when they arise, science is faced with a conundrum to how to explain this species belonging with this species whenever they're out of date fully. So usually it comes down to, oh well, it was an earthquake, or it was a volcano that occurred. So they provide what they consider a rational answer, and then it's considered answered, and then they move on. And then, but it's the type of thing to where, once again, I can't exactly prove that. I can't go and just be like, well, I don't know that an earthquake occurred right then and there,
you
50 million years ago. And
so that's the thing. It's not just something they say and then move on. They pose that as a hypothesis, and then they go and do some tests. So, like, when we look at the strata, when we look at the geologic column, right? You have different fossils in different layers. There are plenty of different events that can cause those layers to become bent, to become tilted, to be completely inverted. Like there's plenty of ways those things can happen. And you have an out of order fossil record in this one particular area. And you can then go back and double check. You can radiometrically date the rocks themselves. You can look for other markers around the landscape to understand the geological history. I'm not a geologist, but I work with one that blows my mind every time we go out fossil hunting, and he can literally look out at the landscape and read the rocks the way he's reading a book and say, oh, look, there used to be a lake here. You can tell because of this, this, and this. And it looks like the same goddamn grass to me, but this dude who's really good at this is able to say, oh, no, actually, so there's this deformation pattern, and there's this pitch at this angle and this shift, and that this is what happens when there's an earthquake. It looks like that. And so, like, for the same reason that I look at a skeleton and say, this bone is this shape and it has this angle to it, that's what happens when there's a muscle attachment that does this thing. I can read bones, he can read rocks. And together we can look at a fossil in a particular area and say, okay, this is this kind of thing, and this is when it lived. We do radiometric testing on the rocks surrounding it. We can sometimes, depending on the age of the fossil, do radiometric dating on the fossil itself. And we can tell a little bit more. And that's just one type of dating method, by the way. Radiometric dating is an absolute dating method. There are several absolute dating methods. There are several relative dating methods. And they cross, they confirm each other. We can double check using different ones. It's not like, we know this rock is 65 million years old because it has a 65 million year old fossil in it. And we know the fossil is 65 million years old because it's in a 65 million year old rock. It isn't that way. Like, we can actually cross-reference several different dating methods to make sure that what we're saying makes sense. So yeah, geologic activity happens and it can make shit confusing sometimes. But that's not a reason to doubt the geological column, because we have naturalistic ways of understanding how those things happen and what kind of patterns they're going to produce. And we can go back and double check. Again, that would falsify evolution if we didn't have that, but we do.
Like, whenever you say radiometric dating, and I know there's several different types of dating, from amino acids dating to, like you said, radiometric dating to, the most accurate that we use is actually star maps. If a civilization kept good star maps, then we can date them more accurately. But most civilizations didn't keep good star maps or lineages and time frames.
Sure.
But
plenty of dinosaurs didn't either. Yeah, so it kind of sucks. We have to work on go with the isotopes we have available to us.
Exactly. And then let's say that we had the whenever it comes to geological dating, radioactive material in rocks and the surfaces of rocks, that we found out that a strong rainfall kind of screws up the dating. So rain can actually affect the fissures and the cracks in the rocks and how we date them. So these things are constantly being discovered. So new ways, like we just discovered with Neanderthals. I think it may have been Princeton that came out this year, saying that Neanderthals weren't the dates on our ancestors. Neanderthals are not exactly correct. So what I don't understand is, how can we close the book on any of this stuff whenever and say that we know something? And
we can't.
It's like at the beginning is like when you're saying, well,
that's why Forrest
planets are formed.
But that's why Forrest is a scientist, to keep learning more and more and more.
Yeah.
That's why scientists didn't just stop at a certain point.
Yeah, that's the big thing that's really important. So you talk about like so like there's some dating methods can be fucked up in some ways. That's why I made sure to point out that we don't just ever use one. We cross-reference several different ones and come to the same conclusion. There are relative dating methods and absolute dating methods. We're never just going to rely on relative dating methods unless we absolutely have to, because those are relative. They're faulty sometimes if we're depending on the conditions around them. But as far as when can we close the book on this and say, okay, now we know everything about this, we can't, and we never can, and we never could. And that's never what science claimed to be able to do. Science is just learning new stuff. And the cool thing about science is that every single time you learn something, every time you answer a question, you find 3 more questions right underneath it. That's how it always has been and how it always will be. And so when it comes to things like evolution, we are figuring out when things evolved, how things evolved, by what mechanisms things evolved, why they evolved, what selection pressures aided their evolution, not whether or not they evolved. We have put to bed that things have evolved. We have answered that question thoroughly. Now we have the next questions. Okay, well, what does that mean? How does that work? We know how this part of development works, but what causes it? And that's the next question down. It's questions all the way down. And that's what science is all about. So like, to try to poke a hole and say, look, here's this one tiny thing about whatever random dating method that we aren't 100% sure on and that we learned something new about, that doesn't give you reason to say, well, therefore, we probably don't actually know anything, and there must be some sort of magic, which we don't have any evidence for, but it might be there, so I can't say it isn't. And like that's not a reasonable scientific framework to live under.
Yeah, Adam, you said something interesting, because you said like, what would close, like, why would we close the book on, or what would get us to that point? But can I ask you, do you believe, it says you're a theist, so I'm assuming you believe in a God. Do you believe that this God is the origin of life, I would guess, like a creator of some sort?
I personally do, but I go by
So
faith, and a faith
right,
is
I understand,
different
but
than a science.
I understand that, but that's what my point is isn't that closing a book pretty hard? That to me seems to be incredibly definitive and doesn't leave room for things to stay open and for you to learn more and figure it out. Or are you on the position that like you're just letting this be the placeholder until something else better comes along?
Well, no, I have subjective evidence, but it's pointless for us to argue subjective evidence because anything I bring up, you can just deny and say, well, that may have never happened. So,
and why are you okay? Yeah, why are you okay with subjective evidence for what you believe, but not for evolution?
Well, I don't believe that you can have subjective evidence for evolution, that we are origins for evolution, because we cannot go back there and subjectively view it. So I believe that my subjective evidence now, today, is more concrete than a theory that people say has closed the book on. But then we have biologists who are not poking holes, really, but the more we
Adam,
discover
I'll
about
give you,
DNA, the more complex it becomes.
So Adam, I once was in the position where I didn't know if evolution was true or not. I was like recovering from the way I was raised, and I still didn't believe in any God because I didn't see a good reason to believe that a God existed. So I think we're conflating scientific theories with atheism, and there is oftentimes overlap happening there. But that still isn't like, to me, I can be a person that says, I don't know, evolution sounds really sketchy to me, and I don't believe in it because I can just be uneducated about it. And I still don't believe in a God. So I'm just, I'm not understanding, like, this is like a big leap.
Don't get me wrong.
It also,
right.
That's the reason why I asked from the beginning what you do believe, is I wasn't conflating your atheism with the belief
that has nothing to do.
Evolution.
If evolution were to be suddenly just like completely crippled and disproven, I still don't believe in a God. So that is
right.
like,
well,
it's like, yeah. So that's why it's just like not that. I don't understand how these have anything to do with each other.
That's the thing that's so important, is that even if we get rid of evolution, you have to then demonstrate creationism. You have to have evidence that there is a God, that this God can create things, that this God did create things. Then you need to start answering questions about how and why, the way that we answer questions about how and why with evolution. And you don't have any of that. You have zero evidence for this God, zero evidence for creation, zero evidence for any of this. You only have questions that science has not satisfactorily answered for you. And you're using those questions as evidence for some other magic. And that doesn't make any sense. It also sounds like there might be a disconnect on what we're doing.
I'm not saying that you made the claim that we know certain things. Okay.
We do.
I've made the claim that I know God based on subjective evidence, that I'm not going to argue because it's pointless.
Nothing that I said we know is subjective.
Of the scientific community.
Yes, nothing that I've said is based on subjective evidence. So me saying we know that, the basic building blocks of life can self-assemble, that is knowing based on testable, repeatable, falsifiable, all the things that you care about as a scientific method. That's what I'm saying when I say we know. It is not the same as you saying your God is real at all.
Yeah, and I'm just sitting here saying I don't know, and my response hasn't been addressed yet. I'm still not convinced. Like, nothing you've said back and forth with Forrest has convinced me to believe that a God exists at all.
Well, that's a personal choice you have to make. I mean, if
it's not a choice. I can't choose.
God,
I can't choose to believe, Adam. I didn't choose to stop believing in a God. So did you choose to stop believing any of the things you no longer believe? No, because it's something that happens to you based off of, whatever information you take in and then how you relate to that information. So I can't choose to believe in a God. I need to be convinced. So how would you convince somebody who's just like, yeah, I don't know, but I don't see any reason to believe? What are your good reasons? Because it sounds to me like you're just trying to poke at evolution. So sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, I was curious as to his comments, Forrest's comments on what we know, and to me, it's something that's constantly unfolding. So there's, like you said, for everything we answer, there's 3 more questions below it. But
and I'm saying that's not relevant to my lack of belief. None of that, nothing that you guys have just discussed in the last 27 minutes is relevant to my lack of belief in a God. So I'm just asking, why should I be convinced to believe in a God?
Well, by your own admittance, you're living your life as as you see fit. You find your own purpose. There's no reason for me to convince you that there is a God. There's no reason for you to call and talk to theists at all, really.
Well, I don't call theists, they call me. But the Bible tells you that you actually are supposed to do that.
Well, no, the Bible says that I'm to spread the gospel. So that's what I do. Right. And whether or not you believe is up to you. I mean, I can present.
So Adam, do you believe in a hell? Do you believe that hell exists?
Yes.
Okay. Do you believe that I'm going to go there if I don't convert to Christianity?
according to the religious foundation that I believe in, yes. If you do not
so if I believe that, so Adam, if I believed that, I would, and this is actually what ended up making me become an atheist, is because I was doing my homework and trying to actually get good reasons, because I was so worried about the people in the world that I loved and cared about, and even people I didn't know, that I was desperate to be able to convince them. I didn't want to just say, well, here's the gospel, and if you don't believe, well, I guess you're going to burn forever. I actually valued people around me, and I wanted to give them good reason because I wanted them to be okay. Then when I found out I didn't have good reason, I didn't have convincing evidence for other people, it was like, why am I believing this? So then I had to examine all of that. So it's kind of offensive to hear that you would call and you would be able to just be fine with Forrest and I going to hell.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's not on me. I mean, it's the type of thing to where you've already heard.
Oh, it's not. That's fine. It's not on you. So if we burn and go to hell, you had the opportunity here to convince us that a God exists, and you didn't do it.
Yep.
No. So you talk to
didn't God say
Christians
something about how, like, if you're lukewarm, he'll spew you from his mouth and stuff?
Well, I'm not lukewarm.
This sounds real lukewarm because, Adam, I went to ministry school so that I could figure all this out, so that I could go talk to people and convince them and save them from an eternity in hell. Why are you not door to door every day trying to convince people?
I don't know what ministry school you went to, but Jesus saves, you don't. So it's the type of thing, once you hear the gospel,
semantics,
then you're
Adam,
semantics are fun.
Adam, what is your evidence for us that a God exists so that we don't end up burning in hell for forever? Or are you willing to just get off this phone call and say, well, it is what it is. I didn't try very hard at all, but you didn't even give us the gospel, by the way. But, you're willing to just be like, oh, well, it's a wash. I tried to talk about evolution and we got nowhere. So now they're going to hell.
I don't care.
I don't care about every other. No, I want you to tell me why I should believe that a God exists. If you really truly believe that I'm going to burn forever, is there any human part of you that feels for that and wants to provide convincing evidence so that I don't have to go through that?
Well, that's just the thing, is that you have been taught a gospel and a religion that you spread to other people to save them, that's fully faith-based, to not walk by sight, to walk by faith, and then you've rejected it. And the thing about it is that I'm just going to provide
give me a reason
to accept fully faith-based.
Adam, give me a reason to accept it. Otherwise, you're just admitting that you don't have a good reason for us to convert. You don't have a good reason for us to believe a hell even exists. You don't have good reason for us to believe that your God is anything resembling reality.
Well, how about this? Here's the biggest thing, okay? Here's the only thing I can really tell you, is that if I'm right, in the end, when we die...
Oh, fuck's sake.
Then
God damn it.
It's Pascal's wager.
You are the ones who go and lose. But if you're right...
No, Adam, let me present you another situation. Adam, let me present you another situation. Let me present you another situation. What if you and me are both wrong, and there was another God that neither of us was able to learn about because a bunch of other people followed that God like you who didn't have good reason to convince other people that it exists. And we end up going to this other God's hell, you and me both, because we picked the wrong God and we pissed him off because I was an atheist. Actually, I pissed him off a little less because at least I wasn't worshiping something else. And you were worshiping this other God. And now we're both going to hell. There's an infinity amount of other options that end up like that. It is not just these two choices of either Christianity or nothing. Those are the only options. So that's called Pascal's wager. And that's a good one for you to go learn about.
Also, it's important to point out that even if you're using Pascal's wager, as a Christian, there are 40,000 denominations of Christianity. That's not an exaggeration. There are over 40,000 different flavors of Christianity, many of which are incompatible with the rest of them, many of which believe all the other Christians are doing Christianity wrong and are going to hell. There's a huge bunch of Christians that say that faith alone gets you to heaven. There's a whole bunch of people who say that faith is lame without works and you must do the works of Christianity. There's a bunch of people who say once saved, always saved. There's a bunch of people who say you can be saved and then you can reject God and you go to hell anyway. Like, you are wrong based on 39,999 other kinds of Christianity that think that you're going to hell because you didn't convert to them. You don't even have to look at the infinite other religions. Your own religion has so many possibilities that you should expect damnation by probability alone.
Well, there's your proof right there that my religion is true.
That's the dumbest thing I have heard today, and we had 3 troll calls. Your religion has 40,000 incompatible versions of itself. That means it's true is insane.
Well, think about it. Okay, think about it for a second. If God's real and Satan's real, and God says that I'm not going to remove my word from the earth, okay, it's going to stay there. He's going to protect that part. So Satan looks at it as like, I can't really get rid of God's word. So what do? I muddy the waters. I create thousands of different denominations. I create different Bibles.
So in that case, Adam,
I confuse people so much that.
How do you know that the waters didn't get
hard.
so muddy that you've been convinced to believe that God is the good guy when it's actually Satan? How do you know the waters didn't get muddied so much that you're not believing something completely false? How do you know that there's anything true left in it?
Well, that's like, we might as well watch like Ocean's 13 and see who double crossed who, and to the point to where
Adam, can you answer the question?
Double crossed everybody.
Can you answer the question? How do you know that anything true is left if you think that the waters were muddied so hard that there's 40,000 plus denominations that cannot agree on so many things about the Bible?
Like I said, I have my subjective evidence.
Right. So
Let me
Adam,
ask you a question, Adam. Sorry, you go ahead. You go ahead. I have two different questions and we're done.
Yeah, this will be my last thing and then you can take over. You have, so far, from my perspective, you called in, you talked about evolution for a long time. I sat here like, okay, cool. And then I asked you if you believe in a hell. You do. You think that Forrest and I, as of now, are going to hell. And you're just okay with this. And you're okay with believing something that you don't have good enough reason to convince other people to believe. But it's so serious that Forrest and I are going to burn for eternity. It's a very disappointing call that you don't have any convincing evidence for this thing that you're willing to believe based off of, as you said, faith, or as I say, nothing.
So let me get this straight. You're upset, even though I didn't say that I wasn't upset that you guys would burn in hell forever. I just said it's out of my hands, which it is. And you're upset that you don't follow a faith-based belief by faith, that you want sight, even though the faith says don't walk by sight. And then
you're misunderstanding.
I'm upset about that?
Disappointed. No. I'm disappointed for you that you're willing to believe and base your life around something so serious that you think we're going to burn for it, and yet so unconvincing that you can't provide evidence for us, and yet you're willing to believe that. I'm disappointed for you. That's why I said this call is kind of a bummer.
Yeah. I have two other questions for you, Adam, really quickly before we move on. Just based on, I had a bunch of other questions about science, but it's clear that you don't care about them. So, like when we talk about this God and Satan thing that you just brought up, that Satan muddied the water so much to create all these different denominations of Christianity. God is very serious in the Bible. God cares a lot about people believing in him the way that he wants to be believed in. God is very jealous. God says, my name is jealousy. You must worship him the way he wants to be worshiped. Why would God, if God wants us to be saved and loves us eternally and all these things, allow Satan to contort his image and his word, his pride, his jealousy, his ego, and his love for us should stop him, right? Should make him intervene and make sure his word is pure. But he doesn't do that. He allows Satan to twist and contort it. Why do you think that is?
Well, first off, God's ways is above our ways. So that's
so just
the Bible
no thoughts at all. Gotcha.
So no, I can finish the statement. But the thing about it is that, I mean, you can even look at the story of Job. I mean, I've seen people look at Job and then get so upset as, why did God do this? Why did he allow this situation to happen? You know, that type of thing. And there's going to be a lot of unanswerable questions whenever it comes to faith and religion. We can make theories and guesstimations, or we can, try to figure out, to try to understand why God does what he does. But
no, Adam, because I don't believe that a God is, much less does.
Yeah,
you're like going over so many things, and then your God, you didn't get us anywhere in this conversation.
That's the thing, man. What I said about no thoughts at all, I wasn't insulting you. I was saying what you just said is what I like to call an everlasting thought stopper. Why, if this God is the most intelligent being in the universe, the definition of love itself, why would he allow his arch nemesis that he also made and also knows is going to do all these things because he knows everything? Why would he allow this arch nemesis to contort his word so that people who love God and want to follow God will be led farther away from that God and will be burned for all eternity because they did it wrong? That makes no sense. That isn't love. That isn't intelligence. That is nothing. And you, rather than grappling with the logic of that reality, just say, well, God's ways are above our ways. That's you're just deliberately refusing to think about what this God is actually doing.
No,
I have a different question for you after you answer that.
I was continuing my answer, but actually it's because it's a separation. Basically, God separates the wheat from the chaff. In ways.
And there would be more wheat. There would be more wheat if his message were pure, which he could do. In fact, that's what Islam claims he did. He sent another angel and said the Bible is corrupted. This is now the perfect last version of it. So, like, sorry, go ahead.
If you believe, I know it's all confusing. If you believe, Adam, that this God is separating the wheat from the chaff, if you believe in the God that I think you believe in, which is an all-knowing, all-loving, all-powerful God, then this God knew when it created the wheat and the chaff, which was going to be which. And that means you are actively choosing to worship a God that created me, knew before he knit me together in my mother's womb that I was going to end up in hell for all of eternity. And he said, you know what? I'm going to make her anyways. That's a fucked up God, and that's a fucked up thing to worship.
Yep.
Why? I mean, whenever he first created man and he told us to be fruitful and multiply, I mean, he gave us the perfect
Adam, if I went,
he gave us
if I was
immortality, and
all-knowing,
all we had to do was one rule.
nope. Adam, if I could have all the same powers as God, and I sat here and I decided to make a being, knowing in my head that this being is going to end up burning in hell for all of eternity, is that fucked up of me to create that being?
Well, if you had unlimited foreknowledge, who knows what decisions you would actually make, because you don't.
Another thought,
Adam,
Stomper.
if I
Just
knew,
answer
so
her
Adam,
question.
if I knew, if I just asked it very clearly, if I knew that that being was going to end up burning in hell for all of eternity, would that be fucked up of me to create that being anyways?
If you knew that they would end up in hell and then you created them, were they in hell by their own choice, or were they in hell by your forced decision?
Adam, let's say it's their let's say it's their choice. Let's say they're going to choose hell, and I know that, and they're going to burn for eternity. Is it fucked up of me to create that being that otherwise wouldn't exist, knowing that?
No.
This is a yes or no question. That's not fucked up.
No. Why would it be?
This is the thing, man.
So you think it's okay to create something just to torture it? That's actually really not, like, you should talk to somebody about that.
That's the answer.
I didn't. If they choose the path themselves, I don't understand how I'm torturing them.
Let me try a more concrete example. Maybe this will help. Say I record a football game. There's a football game on TV. I record it. And I spend the next 5 years watching that same football game on repeat over and over and over. I know everything there is to know about this football game. I know every step that every player ever makes. I know every second. You can give me any one individual half of a second of the game, and I can tell you exactly what's going on, where everybody is, what's happening. All the players are acting on their own free will. They had free choice. They did everything they wanted to based on their choice. Now, I press play on the game and I say, if this team loses, I'm going to punish them. Is that justice? Is that moral?
Well, how do you know God did that?
He didn't
God
ask
knows
that. That's not the
everything.
question. He's asking you about the hypothetical.
Yes. God knows everything. God knows who's going to hell before they're even created. That's what Eve was just saying. God makes people knowing that they are going to freely make choices, and those free choices are going to land them in hell, and he makes them anyway. So, analog, just a little analogy here. If I know who's going to win the football game, and I say, if this other team loses, I will punish them, they still have freedom of choice. They're still making their own decisions. They still lose the game. I knew from the beginning they would. And I am now punishing them for their free choices. Is that wrong of me?
Wait, so you don't think hell was created originally for Satan and his angels?
Someday, Adam, at some point in your life, you are going to need to answer a question that somebody asks you. And I hope that it's an easier one than these. Because it's genuine. No, you have not.
No, you haven't.
I am asking you a straightforward question. God knows before he makes someone whether or not they're going to hell. He is all-knowing. That's what that means. If he chooses to make that person anyway, he is making them for the purpose of them going to hell. I am asking you, and Promise is asking you, is it morally right for God to make people knowing that they are going to be tortured for eternity, no matter what? They are freely going to put themselves there. He knows the outcome, and he makes them anyway. Is that a morally correct thing for him to do?
Well, let's say in a football game, no. In life where you sin against the perfect God,
Adam,
then yes.
So Adam,
I mean, how many times do I have to
I want to
answer?
point something out. You haven't answered. That's why we keep asking. You can go back and listen to the call. It's actually kind of, it's nice because
I answered his. I said
I'm in the middle of talking. I'm in the middle of a sentence. So we have asked you these things and you've skirted around. If you go listen to the call, we can almost hear you running away from each question over and over and over again because you have to fit it into your dogma. I understand what that's like. I have been there. It's exhausting, but it's exhausting to engage in as well. The nice part is you're doing our job for us because this makes for great clips when people get to hear over and over and over again, theists absolutely unable to engage honestly with the conversation and answer us. Some theists do that. And I love those conversations because then they say, yeah, you know what? I don't know. That's a good point. Thanks for pointing that out. What do you think about blah, blah, blah? And then we go back and forth and back and forth. But you, I believe, are smarter than the answers that you are not giving us. And that's why you're scared of them and skirting away. And it's very frustrating.
I've answered you. I don't understand.
You've given us half-assed answers if you answer them at all. And it's usually just another sermon or another thought
hypothetical. I just told you in the hypothetical of a football game, no. And then I told you in the in reality of what this is, choosing sin over a perfect God, then yes, he has every right to do that. But it's
I didn't ask if he has the right. We didn't ask if he has the right. We did not ask if he has the right. We asked if that's morally right to do, not if he has the right. Can he do it? Sure, apparently that's what you think. But is it moral? Do you, Adam, think that that is moral? If you were God, would you do that?
If I was absolutely perfect, then I would have to do that.
Gross.
That's
Let me tell you, man. Yeah, here's the thing, dude. You mentioned earlier, like, you think that Satan contorted God's word, and that's why we have all these different denominations of Christianity. Let me tell you just very quickly before the last little bit of the show here. If I was Satan, I would do the same thing. If I was Satan and there really was a God and God really did have his word published and all things, I would do the same thing. I would make sure that I twisted and contorted that word so that the wrong religion would spread. And I would make sure that number one, I would make sure that everybody believed in Satan. I would make sure that Christians believed they were winning if they believed in Satan. I would spread the message that the greatest lie the devil ever told is that he didn't exist. So people thought they were getting a leg up on me by believing in me. And then I would do everything I could to convince everybody that I was God and that God was me. And I would put out a book. I would make sure that the Bible had a God that is hateful and genocidal and tells people to kill every man, woman, child, infant, baby, ass, horse, cattle, everybody, eliminate entire civilizations. I would make sure that the God of the Bible is homophobic and says that if a man lies with another man, that there's an abomination, their blood is upon them. I would make sure the God of the Bible is misogynistic. I would make sure the God of the Bible talks about how women can't have power, women can't control the church, women can't have authority, women should be submissive, I would make sure the God of the Bible is so misogynistic that in the original sin story, he punishes Adam almost not at all, and then punishes Eve by making her have painful childbirth and be subjugated and like she must be subservient to men. I would make sure the God of the Bible is racist and xenophobic and evil and malevolent and egotistical. I would make the God of the Bible say shit like, my name is jealous. I would make the God of the Bible set children on fire for putting the wrong type of incense in an incense burner, and then command those children's parents not to grieve them, lest they and their entire community be killed as well. That's some real shit in the Bible that God did. I would make the God of the Bible drown every living creature on earth because he was regretful that he had created humans. I am so upset that I had these children. I'm going to kill them and everybody else except for one tiny incestuous family. I'm going to make the God of the Bible loaded with incest stories. The Bible's going to be loaded with stories about incest, loaded with stories about rape, loaded with stories about genocide, loaded with pedophilia. I'm going to make the God of the Bible rape a girl too. Mary could not have consented. That's a power dynamic that we wouldn't allow today. That is statutory rape. That's not okay. I would make the God of the Bible the most evil motherfucker I probably could, and then tell everybody to worship him. And I would tell everybody that Satan is the one that wants you to love everybody, the one that wants you to be gender inclusive, the one that wants you to love trans people, the one that wants you to love gay people, the one that wants you to welcome new cultures and be critical thinking, the one that wants bodily autonomy for people with uteruses, all these different things. That's all Satan. All the good shit, that's what the devil wants. And God is the one that wants you to be hateful and racist and homophobic and xenophobic and transphobic and misogynistic. That's what I would do if I was Satan. And look what we got. We got a book that meets the mark, that fits the bill perfectly for Satan contorting your religion into the thing that you believe now. Tell me I'm wrong, Adam, and tell me why.
Well, I believe that you should absolutely believe that. I mean, we follow our fathers. So, I mean, if your father is the devil, then this is exactly what.
And that's why I know you worship Satan. You worship Satan, and you abandon God.
You worship Satan type of debate? I mean,
no, I'm telling you, the God of the Bible that you believe in is actually Satan, and Satan has contorted this word to make you believe in a false religion. That's what you already said you believe most people believe. You said you believe most people already believe that most people have already fallen prey to this trap. I'm saying you did too. Tell me why I'm wrong.
It's just an accusation. What am I supposed to
prove me wrong?
You're wrong on what?
Yeah. So you got nothing.
On an
prove me wrong.
That you made. Okay.
Adam, you made the same assumption. He's just using your argument against you, and you can't even pay attention enough to see that. He just did to you what you've been trying to do to us this whole conversation, and you can't take an honest look at it and see that.
Indeed, I did what you did to billions of Christians around the world. I just said the same thing back to you. I just said it cooler. Anyway, Adam, this is going nowhere very quickly, and it has been for the past 30 minutes. So we're going to move on. If you want to actually try, like, really seriously thinking about the things you're saying and give us an actual answer for any of them, we'd love to talk to you again. But right now, it sounds like you are trapped in this just cycle of dogma where you're coming up with reasons why everybody else is wrong because Satan, but you're right because Jesus. And it's fucking lazy, man. So I hope you do better next time. Call us back sometime, okay?
I'm sorry, is the call over now? Is it no response?
It was going to be. I was going to let you say a thing. I was going to let you say goodbye or whatever, but I don't have to if you don't want me to.
Oh, no. I mean, if you guys are done, then that's fine. I'll move on so you guys can get to someone else.
Okay, bye.
Bye, Adam. Thank you for showing up with the true gospel at the end there so that you can save us from heaven and make sure we all go safely to hell, which sounds like a much better place to be. Because that's what's so frustrating and shocking to me. I don't know why it's shocking. I need to stop being surprised by this. But for Adam to answer that's totally morally fine of a God to do that, either Adam is deeply unwell and needs to talk to somebody, I would venture to say that's probably not the case here, because I bet, as he said, that would be wrong in any other scenario. He is just allowing for psychopathy and horrific behavior because of this one piece of dogma he has that he has to cling to. And it's really frustrating to see right in your face why some of these people will practice and believe such horrible things like bigotry, because they have made allowances for this narrative. And also now we're going to hell. So good job, Adam.
You know what? I've met some of the people that are going to heaven, and I'm good.
I'm so good.
I love that Stephen Fry bit. He was talking to a bunch of, I think he was talking to Mormons, and they were like, don't you understand, if you when you go to heaven, you're surrounded by all your relatives, all your family members for eternity. He's like, okay, well, what happens if I'm good? And like, they're just shut down the conversation. It's great, man.
Hello. And that was, if I had to say, probably the worst clip I have ever seen. All right, y'all. That's all I get. That's all I got for that. I got some teachers gone wild. I hadn't found any more males, but by the time I go live tonight, I should find some more. Like I say, it's 3 women and 1 man thus far. I'm gonna keep digging. To the next episode, little channel, big voice. We out. Never been a hoe, I stay on go, so what the business? Nigga talking reckless, shoot his bitch ass with the quickness. Now he bleeding, sorry, begging, asking for forgiveness. Bow, 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 limp biscuit. All my niggas wildin', they done labeled us a misfit. Wake up every morning, 2 or 3, 5 in the tidbit. Oh shit, didn't nobody come to see you old. It's some focus, shoot 100 shots, no reloaded. Master of the game, you would think I'm into coded. Memphis niggas spit this pimpin', mackin' like I'm golden. Ho, with my money, you gon' turn me to the old me. Say hi, first class flight, I'm in the nosebleed. Copy, cooking, whip it, ship it till you count the proceeds. OG, I've been moving pack niggas since 03. Low key, niggas hating, but they don't want no beef. State gang, true sippers, bitch, I bet we don't eat. Get jammed, get a lawyer, make it bunny, don't speak. Pour up, I need some more. A nigga had a long week. Shout out to my plug, he showed me love, he out in Long Beach. I'm too geek, walked in by myself but left with 2 freaks. Ooh, we nothing in their mouth and on they booty. Austin Power swag, yeah baby, this is groovy. You can call me money boy or you can call me nudie. Hood niggas, churches, chicken, let me get a 2-piece. Top down, 2-seater, let me feel the 2 breathe. Gotta hold it steady, chopper, kick it back like Bruce Lee. Lately I've been in the zone, I guess I'm in my 2-3. Don't call my phone for nothing less than a QP. Feeling like the Migos, cause my bitch is bad and bougie. All my haters love me, all these bitches just some groupies. Came a long way, I like to introduce the new me. Standing on business like I'm king or like I'm Drewski. Call me Ron Island cause I like my love for choosy. When we link it's a movie, she bustin' like a Uzi. I love the way she do me, I beat it up like Uzi. She dancing just like Suki. Call me Ron Island cause I love my love for choosy. When we link it's a movie, she bustin' like a Uzi. I love the way she do me, I beat it up like Uzi. She dancing just like Suki. I never been a hoe, I stay on go, so what the business? Niggas talking reckless, shoot his bitch ass with the quickness. Name pleading, sorry, begging, asking for forgiveness. Bow, 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 limp biscuit. Never been a hoe, I stay on go, so what the business? Nigga talking reckless, shoot his bitch ass with the quickness. Name pleading, sorry, begging, asking for forgiveness. Bow, 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 limp biscuit.